Judy.
Well, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
was- I
Monday
was
morning motivation on a Tuesday night.
on a Tuesday night. Yeah, exactly. I got a little confused when I saw the trailer there, but so today is going to be exciting because we've been doing questions with all the candidates for council, and today we're chatting with the mayoral candidates.
Right. So we have with us Jordan
Hello.
Pops, Justin Towndale, and Glenn Grant.
How?
Good evening.
Hello. Thank you for having me and us.
How's everybody doing?
Great.
Are you ready for this? I'm sure
Good.
it's a friendly chat, but I'm sure it's going to be very busy. We have some help behind the scenes. Mateo is there and he's going to help monitoring all the comments and the questions. And we're going to try to do questions from the public mainly. But if there is no questions, we'll ask some of the questions that we've asked in previous broadcasts with the people running for candidates. So anyways, welcome to all of you. Mylise, I'm going to leave it up to you.
Yeah, we were hoping to have Mr. James LaRue on as well, but apparently he's in Toronto, was trying to get back in time, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so you are all applying for a job with the title of Mayor of Cornwall. So really it's a job which you're applying for. So briefly tell us a little bit about yourselves. We'll start with Mr. Popes.
Thank you. That's Pops, by the way. Thank you. But
Pops. I wasn't sure, so thanks.
So a little bit about myself. I've mostly lived in Cornwall my entire life, except for maybe like 5 years, where I spent a couple in Montreal and a couple in Ottawa. I've been working in sales throughout my 20s, and I got into the manufacturing industry as my last job. I was a supervisor coordinator at Sigma Point, which was definitely a team leader position. So it was good to have that experience under my belt. And the last few years, I've been self-employed under my artistic persona as MC Frosty, trying to develop my own entertainment label, which is called Ruin Life Crew.
Okay.
And I've had some personal issues with administration in Cornwall and some different things that I feel that I could actually help improve if I was elected as the head of council, representative of people of Cornwall.
Wonderful. Mr. Grant.
Good evening. Well, I was born in Cornwall and lived my total life in Cornwall. Went to school at CCVS, went to start working at Domtar in various capacities, and got into different positions, such as went from operations to a tradesman at Humber College. Came back to St. Lawrence College and got my safety certification plus my HR certification, and I moved into human resources. And after being in the operations and maintenance department for 14 years, and I was on in staff in different capacities, and the last was in charge of all the capital projects for the mill. And so I've led a very interesting life at Domtar. They gave me plenty of opportunities to upgrade, which I did. I trained teams in the team concept, understand what teams are all about, what leadership is all about. And I was also 10 years as president of the union at Domtar and negotiated many contracts. And so when I was in human resources, I got to know both sides of an issue, which has helped me in my my political life as well as my day-to-day life.
Wow. Okay. That is a good resume. So Justin, and yourself?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was raised here in Cornwall, went St. Joe. Can you hear me?
I think
You're cutting out.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
We can somewhat hear you.
Oh no. Well, I'll keep going. I'll try my best here. So I was raised in Cornwall. I was in St. Joe's. After there, I went to the University of Toronto. I got my degree there, and then I spent about 4 years working at Queen's Park. After that, I decided to come home. In 2014, I ran for council, finishing my second term, 8 years as a city councilor. And since coming home, I've tried to get involved in organizations. I've sat on the board of the Cornwall Chamber of Commerce, the River Institute, Habitat for Humanity, and I on the for sexual support services, SDNG. Other job, I'm an infantry officer with the SDNG Highlanders as part of the reserves, and I'm a local business owner, having invested in a restaurant in the.
Okay.
So
Were you done, Justin? Yes. Okay.
it was cutting in and out, but we got most of it.
We got
so that's
most
awesome.
of it. Yes. If anything, you could also just log in from your phone onto this link that we sent you, and that would also work. So if you see that it's just not collaborating, you could do that. Okay, so we do have questions coming in from the people, so I will post one right now. This is a question that I've seen time and time again. Is Jordan serious about wanting to be mayor? He has no experience at all. And then other people also were saying that it was a publicity stunt. Are you really serious about being mayor, or is this just a publicity stunt?
Okay, I've received that question a few times as well. So my intentions for running have actually been since 2019. I actually included a lyric in one of my songs where I was protesting or disputing some of the Cornwall Police Services treatment of a case that I was involved in. So at that point, I did not have the followership that I have now. However, to answer your question, no, it is not strictly a publicity stunt. However, it's actually both. It's both. It is a genuine run, and I'm using as many publicity stunts as I possibly can to get noticed. I've probably made the weirdest campaign videos you've ever seen, at least letting people know a side of me that I'm not ashamed of, and that that I'm a little bit outside the box. But absolutely. In terms of my experience, you're right. I don't have any experience on council. However, I am quite confident in my team leading abilities, and also my experience at Sigma Point, which involved a lot of like root cause analysis, continuous improvement, goals, and team building in order to achieve those goals. So, yep.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. We have another question. This one is directed to Mr. Grant. Why did Glenn Grant make such divisive comments at the Labor Board Council debate and say that if he's not elected, it will be nothing but problems? I don't think that's exactly what was said.
Disruptions, wasn't it? Did you say disruptions?
Disruption, I think, is the word you had used. Do you want to clarify on that?
Which part?
The comments you had said about disruption, that if anybody else was going to be elected, it was going to create disruption in council, I think is what you had mentioned.
Well, working with administration and the public and fellow councilors requires a level of teamwork and working together. I think my past history has demonstrated that I have those leadership abilities and the abilities to work collectively with people. That's been demonstrated in all the years I was on council. It was demonstrated when I led the team to build the Benson Center, a community team. If you look at some of my opponents, some do not have any experience around the table. And I think as my main opponent has demonstrated, he's disruptive in his dealings with both administration and council itself as far as passing motion. So if I think it was indicative when 8 councillors decided, or 7 decided to select me as a replacement for Bernadette Clement.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Justin. Do you want to rebut that?
Sure. And over the last 8 years, well, I have brought most of my colleagues as a mover. You can go check that's easily. When I'm voting on motions, I don't look at who's putting the motion forward. I look at the motion and what it's going to do for the city in the long run, whether it'll be beneficial or detrimental. I don't make it personal. And, you know, going back to the vote for mayor, I seem to recall that part of that was because Mr. Grant said he wasn't going to run for mayor in the upcoming election. And he told everybody around the table that. And it was repeated by some of my colleagues. Here we are. So, I mean, you know, it's not really a good example, in my opinion. I think if we're going to talk about leadership, I think being honest at all times is important. Being honest with the public is important. The Mayor of Cornwall has a duty to be honest with all times and to call for and accountability.
Okay, thank you. All right, Miley, I'll pass it on to you.
All right, so we do have a question. Do you think our main street downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that? And like say we in Cornwall have 2 downtowns, really. We have Le Village and we have downtown Cornwall. So do you think they're healthy and successful? And if not, what would you do to change how they are? Let's start with Mr. Grant.
Just could you repeat the question, because I'm not sure of the total context of it.
Okay, the question was, do you think our main street or downtown is healthy and successful? If not, what would you do to change that? So we have downtown Pitt Street and then we have La Village. So we really have 2 downtowns. Do you find them both successful? And if not, how would you change them?
Well, I think our downtown has changed to the positive over the last 4 years, and we've done that through working with the various developers with the CIP grants. Our CIP grants have been, I think we put out more CIP grants than we ever have, which the biggest one was the corner Pitt and Second with JC Goddard's building that he's putting up. Le Village is an area that needs a lot of work, and I think when you see development happening, whether it be on the Portlands and other development that is going on down in that area, there will be a natural move to improve that area. And then with DevCore, that is going to really, really improve it. And I believe you'll see developers coming in, purchasing properties and start to make that Le Village as good, well as downtown, if not better.
Perfect. And Justin.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. I think certainly I would argue that our downtown in particular got nice moved back 8 years ago, and that's mentioned the CIA as the problem. While progress has been, we can always do better. We can always do better. I think in speaking with business owners downtown, you know, things we need are permits. That's come up now a few times, and it's open. And then there's some things with just older bylaws that are hanging around, restricting the signage they can put up, that sort of thing. So those are the kind of issues I think that affect the downtown. When it comes to Le Village, I think that there is work there required. I think it needs to take a serious. We're buried. Some they have Le Village. That's a project that owners there have talked about. Beautification is another question for Le Village. There were once nice flower boxes there. They seem to have moved to other cities, but they're replaced. So there's to be kind of a neglect in one. I think to work with the 2 days to determine what the are for the businesses there. There's also been some social conversion in Le Village for residential, and that's great, but there's more work doing that. So I think there's being made, but we can always do more and we can always do better.
Exactly. Julia, do you have any suggestions? Because it's
I
cutting out
don't
a
know,
lot.
Justin. Your sound is really coming in and out a lot. I'm not sure if you want to try to move out while Jordan answers the same question, and then come back maybe with your phone or try something else. But the connection is really bad.
Okay, I'll try to come back.
Okay, thank you. So the same question for Jordan.
So yeah, as far as our downtown region and the Le Village, okay, so I personally believe that retail as an industry as a whole is slowly losing the battle, losing the battle to online. What I think would benefit the entrepreneurship of the area is more service and hospitality businesses, and also to maybe designate one area like Pitt and as like, let's say, a hospitality region kind of thing, and then maybe the Le Village is like an entertainment district. We already have the port down there. We already have that kind of thing, and like focus more things on each specific area. I'd also actually be willing to look into kind of making downtown like just like closing the street and making it more like a market, like kind of like the Byward Market type thing. Like I think that could encourage some additional business and that type of thing. I don't know about all the traffic requirements, but if we were to develop it, I think we need to take a specialized approach. Like the repair shops are great, the spas are great, the restaurants are great, but I don't know how about like some of the other businesses that are strictly on retail. So yeah, just more specialized. I think that would just do a great thing, is just to focus specific businesses in the specific areas.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Let's go to Jane. For all candidates, share one concrete thing you will do or accomplish if you are elected as mayor. I'm not looking for a general no tax increase or more affordable housing type of thing. I'm looking for something you personally will do. So,
So, do you want to go with Mr. Glenn Grant first?
yep.
Well, it's when you run for council, you have goals, and those goals can only be accomplished with if you have the cooperation of your council. What I've seen over the number of years that I've been on council is that you have to work with council, and to accomplish anything, you first of all have to get the respect and cooperation of your fellow councillors. I believe I've done that over the number of years I've been on council. And to talk about specifics, I could talk about things like acquisition of the waterfront. That has been a goal of mine since I got in the last two terms, and I'm still looking forward to that. And we're very, very close for doing that with the federal government. There's a number of issues that have to be clarified, liability issues with the waterfront, but that is one of the areas that I think can be accomplished in the next term of council. And I've been leading that, and we're just about there. So that is one that I can agree with, because most of council agree with that. The development of the waterfront is a main item for all the councillors that are running, to my knowledge. So all other areas like affordable housing, we need cooperation of the senior levels of government. You have to work with developers, senior levels of government, and administration. Working with administration is vital, and I can't emphasize that enough. To be able to communicate and work with a council administration is imperative. So one of my goals is to finalize the acquisition of the waterfront, but you can do everything else needs that cooperation with your fellow councillors.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Jordan.
Well, the first thing that I would do, okay, so I mean, there's all kinds of surface issues that all the candidates are mentioning in part of their platforms, that kind of thing. I believe my number one priority is growth of the population of the community. So I believe that growth can only happen if the foundation of how the city is operating is actually strong. Okay. My personal experience is that I've had even during this election is there's mistakes being made by the administration, even in the conduction of this election, and also my fundamental freedom of expression is being violated by a certain part of the municipality currently as well, and that's been for the last 3 years. So what I plan to do is to look into this and make sure that to start things off, that all the policies that are in place that are public facing are respecting life, liberty, and security, and that the Charter of Human Freedoms are being followed by our administration, and then we can build. But that's the first thing I'll do is either pull some freedom of information requests and start investigating that. I can show you some mistakes, but we won't get into that right now. So, all right.
Thank you. So Justin was back and now he's gone again. I'm not sure what happened. I wanted to ask him the same question. It's quite crazy in the back here. I'm telling you, I'm having a hard time trying to
keep up.
ban some people, and they keep coming. I don't know how they're doing it, but they keep coming even though I'm banning them from the channel. So it's kind of weird. Miley, I'm going to let you go and ask another question.
So we have nothing right now coming up, but all right, we will ask another one. What's more important to our city right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts? What's the better solution right now? We'll start with Jordan.
I would say, I mean, Councillor candidate Mark McDonald was talking about like revitalizing the East End. I really like that idea. So there are certain areas that could benefit from some improvements. So which is more important though? Oh, because if you build the houses and the people don't come, or are there people really who can't find a house or can't find a place to live in Cornwall right now?
There seems to be a lot of people there.
I keep hearing about it, but I haven't actually talked to one. Anyway, so I would say for the growth of Cornwall, building new houses, and then follow it up with bringing the industry to attract the workers, new industry.
Perfect. Oh, I think Justin's trying to. Oh, Justin's back. So did you hear that question, Justin?
No, I did not.
Okay, I'll ask it again. What's more important to our city right now? Building new homes and commercial space, or rehabbing or expanding or better utilizing our existing homes and storefronts?
That's a good question. I think preferably we would do both, but I think reusing buildings that we have existing is the better. Buildings are empty, let's repurpose them. It's seen some good, like I mentioned earlier, some good residential conversion of commercial on the road. That's a lot cheaper and a lot quicker than building new. So if there's opportunities to reuse older buildings, we should be prioritizing that for sure. I mean, not every building is going to be for any sort of refit or reuse, but if the option's there and there's a viable plan for it, I think that is the best option.
Okay. And Jordan. Oh, sorry, Glenn.
I believe we need a combination of both. You need new homes because the development in our industrial park is going to demand workers, and those workers need homes. So you can utilize some existing buildings, but it's much better to work with the developers. And some developers are ready to build homes for their employees and rent them out, etc. We've got some major developments coming in the community that's going to help with with that. But I don't know if we have enough storefronts or enough existing buildings to manage the number of people that we're going to require. So it's going to take some innovative thinking and working with senior levels of government as well as our administration to find the solutions for the housing issues in the next short while. But it's imperative that we work collectively, and that's the word that I'm keep pressing is we need to work together, not in silos, and that's something I'll push for as long as this campaign is going.
Thank you. I want to say I'm overwhelmed. I find it very sad that people would just go on and on like this and clog the chat with profanity, and I'm trying to ban them, and they keep coming back. I'm not sure what the situation, and I'm gonna get out of here and leave you to answer the questions my lease will ask, because I can't even see questions in the chat right now because people are just flooding it. I'm gonna try to get a hold of that situation, guys. I'll be right back.
Pressure's on, Maylise.
Yeah, I'm looking on the side there. There's no real questions. That's the problem. There's just a lot of comments. So, what would you do to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion in Cornwall? Or do you think everything is okay the way it is? Let's go with Glenn.
Thank you for that. As part of the police board, we put together our EDI program, which has been warmly accepted by our community. As well as that, I've worked with different groups. The African Caribbean group got two people. One that is on the board now of the River Institute, and another one that's going to be on next year. Mm-hmm. I've worked with the various groups in our community to include them, and I encourage them to work collectively and get involved in our community. And I think our community is what I've seen. You just look at, we've had a good, diverse number of candidates this term, and I think it's they're welcoming. And we believe that we can welcome anybody in our community and work with them to ensure that they're treated the same as anybody else and work to improve their lot in life.
Good. Perfect. What about you, Jordan?
As I mentioned, my priority is the growth of population. So I welcome everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody. And I do have a strong stance against discrimination of any type. Particularly visible minorities. So that would be something that I would definitely keep an eye out. I actually try to treat everybody equally, regardless of gender, race, political beliefs, religious beliefs, anything. But we want to attract as many people as possible. So what we really need to do, if we do want it, like I think our population is like 92% Caucasian or something, as per the last one of the last censuses. So if we want to bring more multiculturalism or more ethnic diversity here, we need to find out what people are looking for in their communities and offer that for them. So I know vibrancy, fun, entertainment, life. That's what we need to spark up in this city. And I know the pandemic was rough on a lot of businesses, and they're probably recovering, but we're in a new time now, and it's almost it's a lot of businesses should be reconsidering what their path, in my opinion. But I'm all for diversity.
Yeah, it's always good to get lots of different opinions, because there's a lot of people with different opinions out there. And Justin, what do you think? What can be done to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, I think, right now, like, the city apparently doesn't have data readily available, and that's something that the city should work on. I know for another department perspective, the Cornwall Police now have an EDI key, and they have a page on their website dedicated to EDI to provide information and to talk about it. So, the city should look at having someone who's appointed as an EDI coordinator or have a committee that's established to look at that. When it comes to the greater community as a whole, I think it's engaging with the different communities in the city. And, things are good, but they're not great all the time. And still issues sometimes with everybody getting along. There's been certain instances brought to my attention. And I think it comes to, I think Jordan was right. Engage with those communities and see what their needs are, see what their goals are, what they want to achieve, and provide supports in place to work with them. You look at larger cities where there are larger ethnic communities like Toronto, you have Chinatown, you have two Koreatowns and whatnot, and they all have their own festivals. And those are things that are these groups looking to establish something like that, work towards that? What are their needs? Let's find out and work with them to accomplish that. Let's keep an open dialogue. And I think that's what's going to help us when people move here and want to stay here.
Perfect. There's another question. Cornwall doesn't seem to attract young people. How can we change that? So, Glenn, let's start with you.
I don't necessarily agree with that. We do attract, but I think there's a misconception that we don't draw enough young people because they leave and they don't come back. I don't know what the demographic profile is in our community right now, but I see more and more young people in our community than I ever did. And they have to do that because we're getting an aging population. And I think we're a welcoming community. And if you could look at St. Lawrence College, just talking about expansion, if we can bring more people into this area to get educated, they will stay in our community. Plus, we have a lot of very attractive jobs coming up in our community, whether it be Great Wolf Lodge, whether it be DevCorps. We have a lot of opportunities for young people to come into our community and get employed and have a good life. So I believe that we are doing a lot of positive things through economic development to attract young people into our community. And I would like to see a new demographic profile just to see where we are with young people.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Jordan, what's your opinion? Oh, that's a question flashed on and flashed off. So I don't know what Julie is doing back there, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the comments.
Julia is just
So-
going a little crazy right now, but go ahead. Let Jordan answer this one, and then I'll go to
Then you'll bring the other one back. I'll
So-
say,
Regarding attracting young people, okay, so it depends, attracting young people to settle down here and spend a career here, because I think we should attract everybody of all ages, you know what I mean? We have a significant senior population as well. We should be attracting more seniors as well, growing that and growing these different sectors. But as far as when I was younger, in my 20s, I liked to have fun when I got off work. And is there even something to do every single night of the week in Cornwall? Can you guys think of something fun to do every single night? There should be something fun to do every single night that everybody in the city can, you know what I mean? That doesn't necessarily involve getting drunk.
yeah, it's true.
Okay. So, in my opinion, certain members of previous councils use their position. Oh, did I forget someone?
Yes, we didn't
Oh,
get.
We didn't get
It was-
Justin?
yeah,
Sorry.
Justin didn't get to answer it. So
Yeah. All right. Thank you. No, I think there are young in the area, but they don't always stay. And there has to be appealing for them. I say this, but I also mean young people in general, because there are young people here, but then they leave for school and they don't come back. There has to be that draw to bring them back, and it has to be a connection, which could be familiar, but there has to be something to do. And I think when it comes to, if we want to attract younger families, there have to be a variety of supports in place, and that includes good jobs so that careers can be pursued by both parents if they're working. And we need to look at activities for kids too. I mean, if people move here and they have young children and they find that there's not a lot for them to do, they may not stay. And that's a quality of life issue. And I think we need to be investing in activities for kids as much as for all age groups, and work with the business community on establishing activities for people. Arcade ban that was in place this term, move is one example that appeals to all ages. That's an activity all ages can do. There's the rise of arcade bars, and there's also just arcades in general for kids. And like, these are things that can be put into, but when you have bylaws in place like that to prevent it, it really stops activities from happening. You have to that happening.
Unfortunately, you're cutting out again, Justin, but I think I got the gist. Okay. So we're ready for the next question, Mylise?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
So,
in my opinion, certain members of previous councils used their position to spend tax dollar without the due consideration of the high level of taxation as well as joblessness in the community. Numerous residents have to make the hard choices of food versus rent. What would you do to maximize spending of tax dollars? Would you commit to a property tax freeze to help residents through
inflationary pressures?
Inflationary pressures. There's my French coming out. So we'll start with Mr. Grant?
Yeah, we'll start with Mr. Grant.
Why don't we start with somebody else for a change?
Okay, let's start.
No, I'm only kidding. You know, I hear about tax freezes, and I believe that it's impossible to get a tax freeze. And what we try and do is maximize our tax dollars to the best of our abilities. But there are many, many areas. If you have the services have to be there, people demand those services. Those services cost a lot of money, whether it be services for their children, for themselves, for if you look at recreation alone, our budget is quite high for recreation. People demand recreation facilities, and they demand more and more every year. It's the same whether it be for themselves or for their children. Those cost a lot of money to maintain our infrastructure. It's huge. We just went through our I lost my train of thought for a second. Excuse me. But if you want those services maintained, they cost dollars, and those dollars are not going to. Those services need to be there for our quality of life in our community, to attract businesses, to attract residents into our community. They don't want to come into a community that has no attraction, such as arts and culture, sports, etc. We just went through the Oswald Theater. That place was going to close. The city, the council decided that that's a gem in our community, and we had 600 and some people there Saturday night enjoying a comedy festival. So you have to have infrastructure for people to enjoy their quality of life in our community. And unfortunately, that costs dollars. We try and maintain a 2 to 3% increase each year. If we can do that, that's affordable in my estimation. And I will always, you always try and reduce it as much as possible, but those services need to be there.
Okay. And Justin.
So I think when it comes to budgeting for the city, we really need to take a serious look at the budget. This past budget cycle, we didn't try to keep it low by any means. We just approved it. It was like a rubber stamp. Were heard, and that's not how it's been in previous years. But it goes beyond. Yeah, we have a level of service we need to provide, and that we're expected to provide. But we need to look at extras, and we have to take a serious look at the work we're doing when it comes to capital projects. I'm not suggesting that we skimp on infrastructure by any means. When our municipal works yard project is 50% over budget, that's a serious concern. And then we say, okay, we're going to borrow money for that. That's when we have to take a serious and say, can we pause it and continue it after? Prices are over another factor. They're going to come back down. So Proper budgeting means taking into consideration all these factors, and it also looks at the ability of the taxpayer to pay. There's one tax base. They get their MPAC assessment, then we do the water taxes, then they get their property taxes. So they get 3 times every year, but we don't always consider that. So these are things we need to look at when we're talking about budgeting to make sure that we're making the right decisions. And if things can be put off for a year, that makes sense. And, you know, when it comes to things like user fees, when people use our facilities and we increase them every year as well, that's a further impact. So there is a cost to everything, of course, but we need to make sure that cost is reasonable and it makes sense at the end of the day.
Okay. How we doing, Julia? Is there any other questions that you've got?
Can I answer?
Jordan?
Can I answer?
Oh,
Jordan?
Jordan, sorry. Jeez.
Thank you. So I'm just looking at the question here. So high level of taxation as well as joblessness in the community. So, so during the pandemic, like I've been keeping my eye on the budget. I've been keeping my eye on the capital operating budget reports and that kind of thing. One thing I noticed, and this just goes to say, I guess, to the financial culture that I've observed, very limited in what's going on in administration, is that even the non-essential portions of the city did not lay off any, like let's say the recreation department did not lay off any workers. Like they ran the city while the pandemic, while the businesses in Cornwall were being locked down and that kind of thing. The corporation of the city of Cornwall just ran, it seems to me, it ran as normal. I think that's what the reports say. So other cities like Quebec City, they had like 2,000 layoffs for their departments that they had to trim down. So I don't know what is going on, and while people are getting raises as well, like the administration, like they're from the start of the pandemic to the end of the pandemic, the general government salaries went up over like $2.6 million as a whole per year. I think that's crazy. So I think there's some irresponsible spending going on there, and to maximize the spending of tax dollars, I think that really comes down to council and administration agreeing on a strategic plan. I know they already have one in place. I personally don't think on the current strategic plan that growth of population is a high enough priority, but I would always push for that to be number one priority. And when we are spending tax dollars, they need to relate to the priorities that we've set out in council or in the strategic plans. So just ensure that there is some double checking that everything is working on the same direction to improve. Maybe a little more scrutiny, perhaps.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we've had a question in the chat about police reform quite a few times. The question was if you would support police reform. I'm not sure exactly how that looks, what that means, but that's the question. So I'm asking. We'll start with Jordan.
Yeah, so I've been pretty open in my platform about looking into replacing the Cornwall Police with the OPP. Other smaller communities, I think, such as like Orangeville, have done this type of thing, and apparently it can save on the budget. There's been concerns about wait times and that kind of thing, but ultimately the vision I have is that the OPP would move into the Cornwall Police Service. But because it's a provincial police service, that we wouldn't be as responsible for as much of the funding. I'm not at all suggesting what Vancouver's done and defund defund the police. We still need police. The goal for me is higher quality police, and if we weren't able to replace them, if that didn't pass, then, and I was elected as mayor, I would hopefully use the position sitting on the Cornwall Police Services Board as a way to also help influence their policies and their decisions, because I believe the 38% crime rate that we've had in crime incidents reported over the last 5 years is unacceptable.
Okay, thank you. Justin.
Yeah, so I don't agree with Mr. Pops on that in terms of replacing the Cornwall Police with the OPP. But I do think, like I said, we can always do better. I would look at the Calais accreditation for the Cornwall Police. This is a US-based organization that we pay to get their accreditation on a number of factors. They're established primarily because there aren't unified requirements in the US, whereas in Ontario, we have the police services, which outlines what police should be doing and how they should do it. So we're sending money to the US to get this accreditation, which very few organizations in Canada want. If you talk to a lot of them, they don't think it's necessary because we have existing requirements. So I don't know why we think we should be having a U.S. organization come in and accredit us. When we look at policing in Canada and the U.S., they're very different. There are a lot of similarities, but I think we should be using Canadian standards, and that's one area I would definitely look to change and, quite frankly, scrap it.
Thank you.
I like that answer.
Mr. Grant.
Thank you. We had a comparative costing for the OPP in the past, and there was two factors come into play: is the cost and plus the we have a community policing, and community policing is where you get working with the community to do the policing, and our Cornwall Police Services Board works with the police to ensure that we have quality policing in our community. And you can see that the evolution of our policing year to year, and with the leadership of Shauna right now, it's moving in a positive direction. You can see that through our EDI, and that's what community policing does. They work with the community, and the OPP as a group, they come in. They're a good police force. But they're not community policing. And what we need are community policing. And I would never support moving to the OPP because they just don't bring the quality into the community that is necessary.
All right, thank you. Next question, and this is interesting because I think we've seen in BC they've started doing this, and it's yet to see how it's going to impact the communities, but thoughts on legalizing or maybe decriminalizing small amounts of opioids, cocaine, methamphetamine, and MDMA in Cornwall. We'll start with Justin.
Thank you for the question. I think we have to take a serious look at the drugs. That's quite a list of different illegal drugs right now. But opioids, we have a bit of a crisis in town, right? I mean, it's a serious thing that's affecting people, and people are dying from this. So the answer for there is a no. That being said, obviously, decriminalization is a federal matter. But I think when we look at like the decriminalization of marijuana, that wasn't a negative thing at all. And I think that's been good for everybody. It's been good for business. I think, like, I have to be honest, I don't know the effects of every one of those drugs. I just don't. And, I think maybe they should each be looked at to see what the negative effects are, what the threats are, that kind of thing, and evaluated like that. A blanket decriminalization, I would say offhand, no. But something that's not going to kill somebody, isn't lethal, isn't a threat, marijuana, look at that, but I think it doesn't matter. I'm not sure we have restriction in that matter at all. So,
okay, thank you, Jordan.
I would not agree. Okay, well, personally, I am against the war on drugs. Okay, I believe in freedom of what people should be able to do to themselves. Okay, but I also agree that drugs are bad. Okay, for most people, and addiction is a real thing that can ruin people's lives. So, at this point, I do not think Cornwall should legalize or decriminalize any drugs until we have something to review in the test situation that's going on in BC. They're decriminalizing those 4 substances in January of 2023, and they have a much worse problem in Vancouver than we do. So I also I support the idea that it shouldn't, like, addiction, drug use shouldn't be really necessarily sent to jail. I think that they should be offered help to overcome their addictions and maybe a little bit better life. Now, I also heard that Toronto applied for the exemption from the from the Controlled Substances Act. So if they get approved for that in Toronto, that would also be a closer test area to view. The important thing, and one of the things that I constantly combat is the stigma that people have for drug users. So I think it's important not to discriminate against people who may have a mental illness, such as addictions, and just lump them in as a piece of poop or whatever, you know. So I think our society has a long way to go, but let's see how it goes in the other cities, and then maybe we can follow suit at some point.
Thank you. And Glenn.
First of all, I'm not qualified to answer that question. I don't know enough about those drugs but I know as being part of the Eastern Ontario Health Unit Board, we see the negative effects of all those drugs. And I would say working with the Eastern Ontario Health Unit and Dr. Paul and our police force to come up with educated justifications if it is to be legalized, and look at best practices in other parts of the country. But right now, I'm not qualified to answer that question. So, but I know there are professionals out there that are, and I would wait to listen to them.
Perfect. All right. Moving on to the next question. Mylise?
Okay, so question for all the candidates. What will you do to keep the population of fish in our Cornwall waters abundant for recreational fishing?
Is there something you can do?
Yeah, really. That one keeps coming up.
Who wants to
So
start?
we'll go with Glenn.
Yes. Well, we have to work with the regulatory bodies that I listen to fishermen all the time, and they say that the current is too swift. There are too many foreign fish in our waters right now that are decimating the fish supply. So you get a combination of all these factors. And when I was on the River Institute board for 6 years, I listened to all the issues with the river. And our St. Lawrence River Institute they're doing a wonderful job to identify issues, but it has to be upstream. Some of the issues are upstream, things that we have no control over. So until we start talking to the senior levels of government and saying, hey, we have to start looking, you're ruining our fish habitat in this area. There's nothing we can do as a city council. We rely too much on the federal government regulatory bodies that we have no control over.
Perfect. Justin, what do you have to say about this?
Right. It's a really good question. I have to be honest. I hadn't truly considered it before. I think working with the MNR to find best practices, working with the River Institute to find out best practices on what we can do, how we can contribute is the way forward. I really don't know what the answer is right now. It's something I'd have to learn more about, but it's obviously important for a number of reasons, aside from recreational fishing, just keeping the ecosystem strong. You know, the river's come a long way since the industrial days of the city, and it's getting better and better. So whatever we can do to improve fishing system, I'd be in favor of doing that.
And Jordan?
This I have no idea. I don't know. Sing the fish some like love songs to get them in the mood or something. I don't know, like I more algae or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not equipped to answer that.
Okay.
Okay.
No problem. So Mylise, I when I was in the background there, I don't know if you asked the question about DevCore.
I didn't do that one yet. Do you want?
Okay,
you want
but
to do
I
one?
have one that just came in, so I'm gonna
Perfect.
ask that one first. Where is it now? It just went. Okay. Question for all candidates: how will you tackle juvenile delinquency?
Delinquency. Your
Thank
French.
you. My French is out tonight. In force. If elected mayor. All right. I'll let you talk, Mylise, from now on. I'm just gonna shut up.
Just keep putting the questions up. So let's go with Glenn on this one.
Thank you. Well, that's a good question, and we can talk about that at the police board, but it's a question I don't have an answer for because I don't even know what the status of juvenile delinquency is in our community. So it's to say we have a problem. I don't know if a problem right now. So I really don't have an answer for that question.
All right, Justin, do you have an answer?
Right. I mean, I think the causes of what's going on is out of trouble.
Okay, it's
Friends for
you're
staying
really
interested. I
breaking
think
up. Okay,
when
ahead.
we don't turn to things, might be considered.
I think Justin's frozen at
Frozen.
this point. So Jordan, we'll go to
Can you hear
you,
me?
and hopefully
you
we
hear?
can come back to. Hopefully we can come back to Justin.
Yeah, so there's so I have looked into this a little bit. So when I was reviewing the crime statistics, one of the crime, or some of the criminal charges that are going down are actually the charges against youth. So in terms of the statistics, juvenile delinquency is going down. However, could be, what I've heard from people I've talked to is that they're just not getting caught, basically. So it's a tough question. I mean, you can provide more fun things for people to do, but does the delinquency just go into the new places now and that kind of thing? So I believe we make Cornwall a better place to live, quality of life, a place where people are happy to be here, happy, and many people are, but there's a lot of people who aren't. I believe they end up leaving or they stay here and live unhappy lives. But the more enriched of a life that council can at least steer the community towards, and hopefully have it realize. I think that trickles down into people's family lives. It trickles down into the youth. And the truth is, love is better than hate. So if people, if they're out there, with a bad attitude, destroying things, harassing people, vandalizing, that kind of thing, give them something positive to do. Give them something positive to do. We need more things to do. And not necessarily organized youth centers. I mean, like, something positive for the delinquents to do, whatever that could be.
Oh, I'd like to get Justin to answer it, but he was cutting in and out a lot.
Now he disappeared.
Oh, Justin's back.
Do you want to take another shot at it?
Can you now?
Let's try.
Me?
You're breaking in and out.
Me can try to answer. I think we have to address the root problems of juvenile delinquency. That means more activities for kids to do.
Justin, if I can interrupt just 1 second.
Yes.
I think if you turn off your video and just stay on audio, that should help.
Okay. I'm going to try this then.
Better.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I think, looking at it, we have to look at the root causes of juvenile delinquency. And I think making sure there's activities for youth to take part in. And I mean, like all age groups, we're going to need activities for kids, activities for teenagers, that kind of thing. But when people are busy, they're not going to turn to things that minor crimes or vandalism or anything like that. So, we have to, as a city, invest in those programs and those facilities, and potentially work with private partners on that side as well. So there's a variety of activities. Not everything is going to be, you're not going to have kids who are interested in sports solely. They're interested in other activities, and it goes both ways. So there have to be a variety of options available to them. And I think that's something that can prevent it.
Perfect.
Okay. I have another question, Mylise. I'll let you read it.
Okay, put it up. So this is for all candidates. Would you support investing in site-ready parcels of land in the business park? The township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, 30 minutes west of here, did so a number of years back, and it paid off with a 1,000,000-square-foot giant Tiger warehouse, as well as other businesses. What would the candidates commit to what would the candidates commit to do to attract more world-class, good-paying jobs? Let's start with Jordan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what a site-ready parcel is, but I believe, if I'm understanding, it might be, getting the business started off with municipal money invested in it at first to start off, and then selling it to the appropriate business or private interest. Yes, I would absolutely support that. I would absolutely support that, and I also believe that if Cornwall needs something and there isn't the private interest to initiate it, the municipality should develop it itself. So I believe.
Oh
Oh,
no.
I'm back. Oh, am I back?
Oh, yep, you're back.
Back. Okay. I also believe that the tech industry would be a great industry to attract, and also the more cannabis industry, like I've mentioned in other debates, cannabis manufacturing, cannabis production. I believe those would be mostly well-paying jobs. I haven't actually looked into it, but that's something I think people can go to college for or university, get botanical degrees, that kind of thing, and those would likely be well-paying jobs. So, but if the private interest isn't there, I think yes, the municipality should start it off.
Okay, Glenn.
Thanks for the question, but I don't think we have to take a back seat to anybody. We have one thing that we're proud of in Cornwall are having, I think they're called shovel-ready projects. And you have to put the proper infrastructure in, so then when someone comes in to invest, you're ready to welcome them with open arms. And I think you'll see that with our industrial park. It's completely full. And it's completely full for a number of reasons. One is our land costs were lower, our power rates are lower, and our general housing is cheaper. We have a lot of positive factors that attract people or developers into our city. One of the biggest factors of all is that we look forward in our economic development department, working with city council, invested money in that industrial park, bought parcel after land, after one land after another, and eventually had the whole park. Now we have to start looking beyond that. But in the meantime, that's why we are selling our land at the highest cost per acre than we ever did. Great profits that we can use those profits to go forward developing more shovel-ready projects. So we will not take a back seat to any municipality that I know of. We're shovel-ready, and we're waiting for other investors to come in.
Thank you. And Justin.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I am familiar with that program, Site Ready, and I think there was a larger parcel of land at 10th Street and Virginia Drive that actually qualified under that program, and now it's been portioned off and should be all sold. There should be development starting there soon. Getting land ready for development was something that I think we had talked about in the past. The cost is there, obviously, because you have to build the infrastructure first. It's very costly. I'd argue that, yes, we've sold a lot of land in our business park, but it wasn't ready. The extension for Tollgate to Niconeb isn't built yet. And there's a ton of projects that are waiting on that, including Great Lodge. So if we were ready, those roads would be built, that infrastructure is in place. Not there yet. It's coming, but we're not there yet. And I think when it comes to bringing better paying jobs, if that's the way forward, absolutely. There's a lot of industry that's going to be moving to Cornwall shortly, but, we don't know what they're going to be right now. With minimum wage, it's better than it was, a few years ago. But is it enough to live on? No. So are they going to be paying a living wage? We're not sure yet. So, I mean, there's always ways we can try to attract better paying jobs, different types of jobs too, because there has to be a variety. It can't all be in one sector. It's putting your eggs in one basket, and it right now with if you look at Alberta, it's not going well for them. So I think it's not about taking a back seat. It's about working with companies, trying to attract companies here, promoting our strengths, and seeing what we can offer them to come here and establish and to employ people.
Thank you.
Okay. So now, each of you, what is the top issue in the election, and how would the candidates address the top issue? So according to you, what is the top issue that Cornwall is facing, and how would you address this issue? Start with Jordan, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. So far, the top issue in the election is people objecting to me running. No. So I've heard that housing is the biggest issue. My like I said, I think the biggest issue is the growth of population. But I haven't looked into the housing shortage or the affordability shortage. I know that that everything's gone up. So I don't know. I don't know what the biggest selection is. What was the second part of the question? Sorry.
Just what do you think is the top issue, and how would you address it?
Yeah. So if I would choose growth of population as the top election issue. But the other one, like I said, these guys, most people are saying housing. How would I address housing? I would have to look into it, and that's probably part of the growth as well of the population. So I if I get elected, I am going to spend a lot of time familiarizing myself with everything.
Okay. Let's move on to Justin.
Yeah, I think it is housing. I think that's the number one issue. It's a national issue, and it's definitely affecting us here. When it comes to dealing with it, I've talked about the homeless shelter, but I think when it comes to the long-term fix, it's affordable housing and it's social housing. And I think from there, we have two options. The city will build projects, but we can't do it alone. So we have the two that are underway right now. The one on Pitt Street is a 4-phase project. Phase 1 is starting soon, or it's already underway, but I don't think it's full construction has started. But we have to momentum up. We need to make sure phase 2 starts in a reasonable time frame. It can't be another 10 years. It's got to be, a couple of years, 2-3 years at max before phase 2 is started. And then when it comes to other options, working with developers, we did that at Pitt and Second. We provided funding through the tax increment grant, a 20-year schedule, which is the first time we've ever done that, but it worked out. And now that development will have affordable housing inside. And we need to continue that. We need to work with developers as well. When they're building apartments, maybe a certain number are going to be restricted for affordable housing. When they're building subdivisions, make sure there's a good mix of dwelling types, because a single family home doesn't work for everybody. And we also have to make sure that our permits aren't standing in the way. We've heard a lot about this recently. This is still an issue. So all those things together, more partnerships, not working against developers, and moving forward with that as the way forward.
Thank you. And Glenn.
Well, I think it's unanimous that affordable housing is one of the key issues in our community, and which results sometimes in homelessness. The Mayor's Task Force on Housing has produced a number of recommendations, and once we can start implementing those recommendations, it'll try and help with the numbers that we're dealing with right now. But this is not just a local issue. It is an issue that is throughout our province and in some cases our country. What we really need are help from the senior levels of government. I keep saying that, but it's factual. Our municipal tax base cannot support that. We need to have the provincial and federal governments come to the table and work with that. And you can do that by working with the various ministries. And I have a good rapport with the ministries in the province. And we've had record meetings with ministers to talk about this issue. And hopefully, when reelected, I can continue that work and keep those recommendations moving forward. But we took this on, and I give credit to our full council. It was all part of our strategic plan, and it's just us and one person that does that. It takes the whole council. This whole council has been very progressive in that way, and I believe that once those recommendations start flowing through and we get the cooperation from the provincial and federal governments, you'll start seeing our homeless issues go down. Will they disappear? No, that's a long-term issue that we have to work on.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, here you go, Mylise.
I'm going to just, people have been commenting about the glare in my glasses, that they can't see my eyes. I do apologize for that. And I keep trying to move my head so we can see my eyes, but it's just the way it is, guys. Sorry. Anyway, I just had to say that. So for all the candidates, we have another question. Each candidate has mentioned promoting Cornwall's strengths. What, in your opinion, is our city's greatest strength for 1, business concerning setting up in our city, and 2, families considering moving to Cornwall? So let's start with Jordan.
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me just bring that up again. Sorry, let me just read it. Okay. Mention promoting what are 2 greatest strengths. Okay, so in relation to other municipalities, I still think the cost of living in Cornwall is cheaper. I know everywhere has gone up. So I believe that we're in an adjustment phase because of the inflation going on for whatever reason. But I read that there was like a 1-bedroom in Guelph that are going for like $2,000. And so I know they're cheaper in Cornwall, at least. So I think that slightly cheaper to live here still, although it's more expensive than it was, is definitely a great reason. And for families considering moving here, in terms of, let's say, like serious violent crimes, Cornwall is generally fairly safe. There's not a lot of shootings, if any. I mean, recently we've had some unfortunate situations, but it's always been my opinion that Cornwall is a fairly safe city from serious crime.
Perfect. And Justin.
Thank you for the question. It's definitely a good one. I think, it's the same answer for both businesses and residents, to be honest. I think, we have lower electricity costs here in Cornwall and the rest of the province of Ontario by getting our electricity from Quebec. I think Mr. Pops was right. Cost of living is still cheaper here. It's gone up. It's still going up with inflation and everything, but it's still cheaper than other places in the province. I think our location we're really well positioned. We're on St. Lawrence on 1, via rail, Quebec City, Windsor corridor. We're in Montreal, Ottawa. We're near the United States. We live in a beautiful area. There's a lot to do around here in terms of recreation, getting outside, that kind of thing. But I think our location, coupled with the lower cost of living, is definitely key. Right now, there's so many open jobs available that for residents who are looking for work, that's beneficial. For businesses, it might be a little harder because, they're looking for employees. But I mean, that's a problem everywhere. So I think those are the strengths that work well for both of them. And that's what makes us really special here.
Perfect. And Glenn.
Thank you. As I alluded to earlier, our land costs are lower, and plus our power rates, which are very attractive to both developers and people moving into our community, residents moving in. When residents want to move into a community, they look at 2 things. One, how safe is the community? As Jordan has said earlier, this community is a very safe community. When you get into other recreation facilities, whether it be through arts and culture, through recreation facilities like the Benson Center, we have a great waterfront that attracts people. I know of speaking to residents over the last few weeks, one thing they all say is that this waterfront is a jewel in our community, and people just love it. And when they come here, whether to visit or just to live, that's all they talk about is how wonderful our recreation facilities are and our waterfront. Plus, it's a very senior-friendly community, and people look at how we treat seniors, and we treat seniors very, very well here. We recognize their value, and we give them the services that they need. We have a lot of areas for improvement there, but you can see just from the last few weeks when we had a senior fair that seniors are looking to live in this community and be very active. So there's just so many positive things to talk about our community that I could sit here for another half hour talking about them.
It's true.
Okay, moving on. So this one we did. I'm gonna go to this one. Go
All
ahead,
right.
Miley.
So Cornwall Electric has a written policy that they are not bound to IESO green energy initiatives as they get their power outside Ontario. Would the candidates commit to a green energy initiative in the city to allow for solar rooftop installs and force Cornwall Electric to move down the road?
Down this road.
Oh, down this road. Sorry, my French came in too. No, sorry, I'm just
So
kidding. So
would you,
let's
would you commit to a green energy initiative?
start with Justin.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think it's a really good one, and it's something that was back. It's great that we had our power from Quebec through Cornwall Electric through Fortis, but not being able to have people participate in FIT programs or set up their own solar panels or other forms of electricity generation to connect to the grid is hindering. So, we have a contract with Cornwall Electric. I'd be more than happy to start negotiations with them to get that put in there, that we can get people who want to invest in solar panels and do those kind of projects onto the grid and whatnot. So, I don't know about Ford necessarily. I think I'm not sure we can leave beyond, but I think working with them and having negotiations on the matter, yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Glenn.
Well, hydroelectric is the cleanest energy that's produced. It's and I have no problem having discussions with Cornwall Electric, but when we talk about green energy efficiencies, hydroelectricity is the greenest that there is. So I will open up the discussion with Cornwall Electric to talk about other initiatives, but we're bound by a contract, and at this time, that's what we have to honor is that contract. But I'm always open to new ideas and sitting down and discussing any issue with any developer. So
Wonderful. Thank you. And Jordan.
I definitely believe in solar power and renewable energy. So, I mean, if we're talking about residential, if we should be steering people towards getting solar panels for their residences, I think that's quite cost prohibitive at the moment. And while we're also trying to combat affordable housing, I think that's a couple steps away for these affordable housing to also have solar panels. If we're talking about municipal, City of Cornwall buildings, and just trying reduce the imprint of the administration and that kind of thing. I would honestly like if I had it my way, I would take the whole Domtar area and put that entirely with solar panels and start giving everybody free energy.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think you can go on with the DevCore one.
All right. So we have a question here. So DevCore, concerns over monopoly and gentrification of areas such as the East End, attract versus retain. What's more important to you? Can we start with Glenn?
could you do the
So-
last part of the question?
So basically, there's been some concerns about DevCore coming into town and buying everything, and concerns that this will make the rents go higher, and also displace people from where they live right now. So do you as a mayor, current mayor, and as running for mayor, do you have any concern about somebody getting the monopoly, and what can be done to prevent that and make sure that this just does not backfire?
Well, there's always a fear factor with people when they worry about monopolies. I talked to delivering Meals on Wheels today. I went to a DevCore apartment, and I talked to the residents in that department, and they're renovating the whole place, and people are still living in their apartments. They were very, very happy with the performance of DevCore. They're not forcing them out, but they're renovating as they go along. And I asked specific questions about, are they treating you well? And they said, yep, they've been very, very good to us. Now, do we worry for the sake of worrying and worrying about a fear factor? I haven't heard negative comments about DevCore. So why would all of a sudden they would come in and start doing things that are in the negative factor? I wait to see performance and to see where they're going. And there's rules and laws available to prevent them doing things that are negative to the resident. So I don't worry about that fear factor, because if you live by fear, you'll never progress. So I have no problems with DevCore. I think they're investing in our community. Until they prove otherwise, I think we welcome them, welcome their investment in our community.
Thank you. Justin?
Well, yeah, thank you for the question. I think it's fear. I think concerns are fair. People can have concerns about things, and as valid questions. That's what this is. I mean, here's the issue, though. At the end of the day, when it comes to buying real estate, that's more or less free market economy. So there's not really much the city can do to prevent that. We can't deny a private land transaction or anything to that effect. Could it be a concern if they own all the property in town, all the rental stock? Technically, yes. I mean, then that can be a concern, but truthfully, I'm not sure what the city can do about it. I think at the best we can keep an eye on it, make sure that rules are being followed, there's no mistreatment of tenants. Obviously the landlord tenant board, that's a provincial matter, so that's out of our hands. I think having open communication and hearing concerns is valid, because if we're there to hear concerns from our residents who are tenants and they're raising issues with us, we can turn around and raise it with the owners of the building if they're not getting anywhere. And I think operating in that manner, potentially as a mediator, can hopefully assuage some of those concerns. But again, it's not. I don't see any problem with asking questions or having concerns about this. I think it's very valid.
Perfect. And Jordan?
Sorry, what was it? What was the question again? It was about the East End and DevCore and
So yeah,
monopoly.
DevCore, like there's a lot of concerns about DevCore sweeping all the properties and about rent getting higher, and about the gentrification of the East End especially. We've heard time and again that some people are kind of concerned about this. So what's your take on it? And
Okay,
is there
so
anything?
the concern is residents are afraid their landlords might sell their property to a large corporation like DevCore, and who will basically monopolize the whole situation. Yeah, so it is free market. It is free market. I mean, I would imagine there's some type of laws against monopoly, but I think that if you give it a chance, it might work out. I mean, I don't think, have they made plans to do anything bad to anybody in Cornwall? Like, or are these just fears? So I don't know. But talking about it, as Justin mentioned, communication is key. And having just an open door with any significant developer in the area, and having open lines of communication with the public through social media, I think is the best way. So, I mean, do people know how to contact the council and that kind of thing? Like, I don't know. I didn't have too much luck when I tried in the past, but yeah. So I think the fears can be quelled, I guess.
Okay.
Kind of a non-answer, sorry.
So here's another question about water meters. We've heard it several times during the campaign. So people don't want water meters. Why still pass it with cities reversing that idea? So full disclosure, Christopher is also running for council. We had him on the show just last night. But so that's the question. So why continue with that idea?
Glenn.
My philosophy has always been when what gets measured gets done. And this is another tool to measure what people are using, whether it be electricity, gas, whatever. It's a piece of equipment to measure usage, and also to for user pay. I'm in favor of water meters the same way that I have a meter for my electricity. I look at it and someone says, well, about paying, you don't pay for that. Well, yes, you do. You pay for your, whether it's a gas meter, water meter, etc. So you pay for usage. And I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a proper way of going about it.
Thanks, Glenn. And Jordan.
So I think there's positive and negatives with the water meters. I heard at the last debate, I think, or maybe it was one at the Labor Council that I didn't attend, but someone was mentioning that right now the way it is the residents are basically covering the water usage bills for like larger industries or something like that. It's all like an even split kind of deal or something to that effect. I personally think that water conservation could be a good thing for most people. I have a bad habit of running my water while I do my dishes, and I just leave it on rinsing. So, like little things like that, I would probably stop doing that if I was actually paying per liter or however that works. But yeah, I think it's always good to promote for the city to promote responsible use of water meters, and it's at least worth a try. It's different. If it doesn't work, then maybe remove it if it's not working in the other cities. But Cornwall is a unique situation, and it may be better for us. So there's only one way to find it.
Perfect. And Justin.
Yeah, I think you have to look at it. Water is a resource, and we do get metered on electricity and gas, and you pay for what you use. I think you have direct control over that in terms of what your costs are. Right now the city, my understanding is what we've been told by our administration is that the billing isn't equal. An example given to us in the East End and West End, identical restaurants, one's on a meter, one's not. They have drastically different water bills, with the residential side absorbing the majority of that cost. And we bill by fixture right now. Like, can you put in perspective, if you were billed for your electricity by the number of light fixtures or outlets you had in your home, that would be an interesting way to bill you, not how many you use, but the fixtures you have. So it's not reflective of usage. And, I was talking to a senior the other day. He lives alone, and he thinks water meters will save him money because he doesn't use a lot of water. Meanwhile, his neighbor uses more than he does, and they pay the same water bills. So I think it's a more equitable billing system that you pay for what you use. Our administration has also told us that the system will help detect leaks in the system to prevent water main breaks. So if we can catch those before the pipes burst, that will save us money and time, and it'll save people from having their water go out. If there's less water going through our water treatment and water purification plants, that means that there's less wear and tear on the machinery in those, and there's less chemicals being purchased by the city. And that should also result in a cost savings for the city as well. So I think, if people are managing their water use, they'll keep their own costs down, but the city won't be spending as much on water either, which results in us spending less money too. So overall, I think there will be a savings. I really do believe that. Now, as Mr. Pops mentioned, if we see it's not working or things are getting out of hand, we can always come back and revisit that decision and take another look at it. But I think right now it is the best way forward, not just from a conservation viewpoint, but from a spending viewpoint for personal expenditures and the city's expenditures as well.
Thank you.
Okay, next one.
With such a large senior population, what are candidates' ideas to keep seniors occupied and an active part of the community? Let's start with Jordan.
A casino. There we go. Let's build a casino. Not just the elderly senior citizens, but that sounds like fun.
Seems to me that idea has already been talked about in the past. Maybe I'm wrong.
It was. I think it was suggested a long time ago, but let's revisit it.
Glenn,
Okay.
what do you think will keep seniors occupied?
Well, there's being part of the senior friendly committee. We've looked at all areas of participation for seniors. One area is recreation and pickleball. I'll use pickleball as an example, and tennis, but especially pickleball is the fastest growing sport in North America. We recently converted court to just strictly pickleball, no tennis. But the demand is going up immensely for the need for more pickleball courts. A friend of mine was down south recently and talked about the number of dedicated indoor pickleball courts there are. And we don't have an indoor pickleball court in the city itself. We have a tennis court that we convert. But that is one area for recreation, gets people outside. We recently have many initiatives from the east, from the senior friendly committee to talk about what we can do. And right now we're looking at having a senior person, or a person that deals just with seniors itself. And I think our senior initiatives. And I don't know if it will take a full-time person for that, but it's something that's being proposed by the Senior Friendly Committee to the city to say, how can we help seniors in our community? And I think if we have someone that they can go to and say, this is what we're looking at, how can we get this going in the city? We can help seniors with having somebody available at the city to assist them. So there are many areas of that we can help seniors in our community, and our senior friendly committee is doing that.
Perfect. And Justin.
Thank you for the question. I think the answers so far are kind of on point. We have a senior friendly community committee, which has made recommendations to the city, and recently they've undertaken some great initiatives there. And they have the Seniors on Wheels program, which provides bike rides along the recreational path. That's been hugely popular. And they're also making other recommendations that we need to look at, because that's the seniors' voice to the city, and that's where we need to hear. I think we need to look at continuing the funding that is provided to the various senior clubs around the city and engaging with them once in a while to check in to make sure that, everything is good to go, that their needs are being met. And if there's anything else we can do to encourage and support them. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So another question for all the candidates. What are your thoughts on a universal basic income for all Cornwall residents? Let's start with Justin on this one.
Thank you for the question. This is something that's come up before. And right now I think it's difficult because, to be honest, there's a shortage of workers in the workforce and there's all these open jobs. So I think we need to look at making sure that people are being placed in careers that are a good fit for them and something that they'll enjoy doing. I understand when we're talking about universal basic income as well for those who may not work, who may be on ODSP and whatnot. And I think that is something we need to look at. I think looking at a living wage policy is important. It's not quite the same thing, but I think that's somewhere where we can focus our efforts too, because it enables people to be in the workforce but make a living wage so that they can survive as well. It's something I would consider exploring, but at the same time, I want to make sure that people who are able to work are working, and those who aren't, that they do have the resources they need to survive as well.
Perfect. And we'll go to Jordan next.
Thank you. So universal basic income. So I know the federal government has had the first reading on the guaranteed livable basic income, the framework for it. So they are looking into it. An NDP representative brought it up, but it did get past the first reading. I don't think that would be the municipality's responsibility to provide that type of thing. However, what something like that will do, and I believe it is on the way as more and more automation happens, that there just aren't going to be as many jobs for humans to do at some point. So what's going to happen then as far as income? Now, I think we're a long way away from that, but businesses should be getting prepared. There are studies that the universal basic income might actually improve the economy as a whole. We know that there's enough cash liquidity in the markets because of all the basically universal basic income that the government gave out in the CERB throughout the pandemic. So they already have their test information. But what I think that would do is it would like for low income people, it will improve their quality of life, which makes everything better. The foundation, the low income people will have more money available to do what they want in this life. And I think that's a good thing. And it will force employers to pay better wages, which combats housing affordability as well. So it could be a way to combat housing affordability, but I'll leave that to the federal government.
Okay. And Glenn, what's your opinion?
Well, I believe it's a federal issue. I was in the labor movement for 25 years, negotiated many contracts to up the wages for employees, and people need to have a decent wage in order to live, because if you look at all the detrimental effects of not having the proper income, you end up not eating properly. You end up there's many time substance abuse comes into the play. So I think it's a federal issue, but I'm supportive of people earning a proper living so they could live properly. It's so yeah, in principle, I agree with it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. This is an interesting question. I haven't seen this before.
Okay, so should the city wash its hands of the civic complex, Ed Lumley Arena, and allow the building to perhaps be leased or sponsored by a company and allow it to be run like a normal sports complex? That's an interesting question.
That's my roommate, by the way, just so you know. So just
Yep.
I'm just for transparency.
Okay. All right. We'll start with Jordan.
I definitely think that the complex could be used a lot more. Whether maybe the city needs to start a department to be able to start providing more entertainment there. But likely what will happen is if we sell it, probably somebody's going to put a hockey team in there, which is not a bad thing either. It could be leased or sold to a promotional company for music and that kind of thing, and maybe start bringing some bigger acts into Cornwall. That'd be a great thing. But I don't know if selling it, such a large asset for the city, is necessarily the best move. I think it has a lot of potential to still serve the community well.
Okay, perfect. Glenn.
No.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet answer. And Justin.
Yeah, I don't think washing our hands of it completely, selling it is viable for the city. first of all, you'd have to find a purchaser. But I think, naming rights are something that could be looked at. Something like what we did with the Benson Center, where there's a sponsorship agreement. I think that would work well because that can generate extra revenue. I think we could look at using the city more. Absolutely. I think it's underutilized right now. I think we should be actively looking to bring more entertainment, more shows here. We do, don't get me wrong, but I think we could do more. And I think it's an asset that we have used it properly. It would really reach its full potential. And, if you look back in the day, OHL teams, big ticket concerts, we're having all kinds of things like that. Now we don't really see that nearly as much. So we have to be looking for opportunities like that to maximize the building use.
Thank you.
And my Lisa, we're supposed to ask what their favorite type of ice cream
Oh
was.
my goodness, we were going to lighten it up a little bit, guys. And so
Got so overwhelmed in the comments. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Glenn,
Mint chocolate.
mint chocolate. Jordan?
I also enjoy mint chocolate. However, my favorite would be like a blizzard, a crispy crunch blizzard, if you want to call it ice cream.
Okay. And Justin, what's your favorite ice cream?
Funny enough, it's mint chocolate too. I guess we're all in agreement on that point. Eh?
High five.
They agree.
Is that yours as well, Julia?
No.
What's your signature,
Butterscotch.
Julia? Butterscotch? Mine's rum and raisin.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Wow.
Next question.
So this is for all candidates. Do you feel there should be a certain level of qualifications to be a mayor? If yes, name your top two that are most important. What top two qualifications? So we'll start with Justin.
Thank you for the question. No, I don't actually. I think that we shouldn't necessarily limit anyone for running for mayor. I think democracy works best when you have a plurality of opinions and views, and we should be encouraging more people to get involved in the process. That qualification standards for that, we risk alienating people who could the mayor just don't have those qualifications. So I don't think so. I think it should be open and fair to anybody.
Okay, thank you. Glenn.
Cutting out again.
Yeah, we got most of it though. I think we're good. So Glenn?
Well, I think communication skills are imperative, and the ability to get along with others. When you're in council, you have to try and work with everyone to come to some kind of majority agreement. And everybody comes in with different backgrounds and different views on issues. To be able to sit down and talk with them and discuss it with them, and whether it be your council mates or your administration or regular citizens or politicians of other levels, communication skills are absolutely required, and the ability to get along with others is a major qualification that I believe is necessary. And I think when some of them talking about education is one factor, but to me, if you're going to do the job properly, those two, communication and getting along with others, are two that are priority.
Thanks, Glenn. And Jordan?
So to run for mayor, no, I do not think you should need any qualifications. To be a good mayor, well, from my outside opinion, what it needs, I think there are a couple qualifications that would help. Team leading, like having experience actually working or supervising a team or being a part of a team, and just having that experience of knowing, like Glenn was saying, how to compromise, how to talk laterally with other departments and that kind of thing, and have a good mind to see the bigger picture and be able to also have an eye on the things that are being micromanaged. I think that's a skill more than a qualification, but some type of a leadership role in the past, I think, would probably help the mayor. And an understanding of marketing. Okay, there is a big portion of the job which represents promoting Cornwall, promoting the things going on, the ability to get eyes on you, and the ability to sell Cornwall to people to come and move here or invest in our community and move their businesses. So yes, marketing and leadership qualifications would help.
Thank you.
Okay. So I certainly have a question. What unique cultural perspective can you provide while in your position as mayor? And I'm going to add to that. I'm going to say, what can you do to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion as mayor?
I think we already
Did
Yeah.
you?
kind of had
Yeah,
we
we
had
have.
that question. Yeah, we
Okay,
already
then
did.
what
Not
unique,
not yeah, we
what
didn't have
unique
it quite the
cultural
same.
perspective?
Go ahead. So what did you want them to answer the first part then?
The first part, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so what unique cultural perspective can you provide while in your position as mayor? Let's start with Glenn.
Well, as I explained before, my mother was a very open-minded person, and she always said, treat people as you would want to be treated. And when I deal with people all the same. It doesn't matter what they look like, but I treat everybody the same way until they show that they can't be treated that way. But I think culturally, we're all human beings, and we all have our feelings and our likes and dislikes. And so I treat everybody the same. So from a cultural perspective, I learn from everybody. There's one gentleman running for council this term. I learned more from him and about promotion than I have from anybody, and that was in a short period of time. So culturally, you're going to learn from other people coming from different countries, and so you have to be open-minded that these people are bringing in new ideas and ideas that I would never think about. So from a cultural perspective, I treat everybody the same way, and I hope they treat me that way.
Wonderful. And Jordan.
Okay, so my unique cultural situation here that would benefit being a mayor, I would say, first off, I have firsthand experience with some of the municipal systems. Being on social assistance right now, I am a client of Ontario Works. I have had multiple run-ins with the police. I can speak on what I've experienced. The point I'm making is, I am living, or I have lived, in these areas that could be improved, and that experience is what I'm going to lean on to help improve our services and that kind of thing. Now, also, I'm a professional influencer. Okay, that will help. Like, this is what I do. So my job is to influence, and I would love to influence prosperity and growth in our city.
Thank you. Justin.
Thank you for the question. I mean, look, obviously, I'm a visible minority, but I was born in Canada. I was raised in Canada. Like, I'm Canadian through and through. I am a first generation Canadian. I have immigrant parents. I mean, truthfully, I don't think I have anything unique to bring to the table, but I do see things differently sometimes because, it's not always rose colored glasses. And sometimes, I've seen struggles of people in the community who don't always fit in. I've had incidents where I wasn't treated equally because of the color of my skin, or judgments were made. So I do see that. I don't go out of my way to promote that necessarily, because I'm not trying to use that to an advantage or anything, but I think we have to have those discussions, and I think we have to be able to listen to those discussions, and we have to be open to hearing that sometimes. I think we need to be able to hear that criticism sometimes and understand it. And I think just having that communication and listening to that and appreciating other people's experiences are important. So I don't necessarily think I bring anything unique, but I would say that I don't see things the same way all the time necessarily as everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you. So did you do the attract versus retain question?
Yeah, I think we did. That was the DEFCO one.
No, that's a different question. I think you had it on the same line, and you thought it was one question. So
We didn't.
retain our people or attract new people to the city. What is more important to you?
Didn't
We'll
we ask
start-
that? Did we ask that? I feel like I think I said growth before, didn't I?
We
Growth
did.
rate.
We
No.
did do that question. Actually,
You did.
but- yeah, I might have been one of the
I
times. that you-
apologize. It's
problem.
one of these times where I was probably
You
a
were
little tied up
distracted with the comments.
Yeah, I
and
thought we
everything.
had lumped it in one, and it was okay. No problem.
Do we have any others?
No, not so far. It's pretty quiet. Anyways, it's 8:50, so I think we're gonna wrap it up, letting each of you one last question, Miley's.
So, why do you think you would be good for the job of mayor? Why should people vote for you on October 24th? So, we'll kind of give everybody a little closing comment here. Let's start with Justin.
Okay, well, thank you. I mean, I've been on council now for 8 years. I'd like to look back on my record and reflect on that. I think I've done my best to try to bring change to the city in a positive way and to help residents with the problems they've raised that they've had. I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to work to make this city a better place. I think we can always do better, and saying that everything is great right now and everything's perfect, nothing needs to be changed, limits us, and it's not correct. I think we need to be able to adapt and move forward, and that's something I'm willing to do and work towards that. Experience, I years. I've been on numerous boards for nonprofits in the area. I spent 4 years at Queen's Park. I'm in the military. I'm an officer. I'm second in command of the rifle company, and that experience has also taught me a lot in terms of what you can accomplish and how to accomplish and how to plan. And you need to plan what's further ahead. We should, our election cycle is 4-year terms, but we need to look at 20 years, 25 years down the road. We shouldn't be looking for our own personal gain or immediate gratification. We have to plan longer so we can also set up councils down the road and this down the road for success, even when we're not going to be here. And that's what I want to make sure that Cornwall's prosperous for years to come. I love this community. I do. I really do. That's why I came home. And I really want to see it succeed. I think the way forward is that working together with everybody so that we all succeed together. And that's, to me, the word. So I just want to thank you for having us tonight, Julia May Lee, and to everyone who tuned in and who will watch this later, and for participating in the democratic process. And thank you to those who asked questions. They were really good questions. They were tough, and they hit on really important topics. And personally, it gave me something to think about. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Justin. Glenn.
Well, again, thanks for the opportunity to have a chat tonight. I think over my years on council and as the last 15 months as mayor, I've demonstrated the qualities and the abilities to do the job. I've led a number of committees over the years successfully, such as the Benson Center. That's something I repeat because I'm very proud of it. We got a good community team together and worked together and brought the recommendations to council. They were thorough recommendations and they were adopted. Over the years, I've worked well with people. I think anybody who knows me knows that I get along well with people, and the leadership qualities have been there. And the 15 months as mayor, I think our council has been very, very smooth in operation. And that's because two things. One, I think that comes from respect from the chair and respect from the city councilors to say, yeah, we can work together. And it's demonstrated by the efficiencies of our meetings and the ability to work with people. whether it be administration or my fellow councillors or the residents in this community. So I'd like to have 4 more years to see this city is moving in such a positive way. I want to be keep being part of that wave. So hopefully you can see your way to vote for me as mayor for another 4 years, and let's keep this city moving. And thank you very much tonight for putting this on, Melise and Julia. And the questions were some different questions from what we've been approached with before, and it was helpful, I'm sure, for the residents to make up their mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. And Jordan.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys for inviting me on, and I just want to say I fully respect both Justin and Glenn. I think you guys have done actually a really good job, both of you, in your service on council in the past. And it was nice meeting you guys at the debate, so I could actually look in your eyes and see that you guys are good people. So I think either of them are great choices. I am in full belief that I'm the best choice. Okay, I can put eyes on the city. I can market us. I can cause up a stir when we need it to get eyes on us. And I will take all of the criticism. You can say anything you want to me, okay? I'll listen to you. I won't block you once I'm mayor. And you know what? I love each and every one of you. That's the truth. I love life. Let's do it. Let's grow Cornwall and make this the best city ever. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
guys.
right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for being here tonight. I apologize for all the confusion. I said it was going to be a very informal chat, and God, was it ever.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming. We wish you the best of luck on Monday, and we'll see you. One of you will be crowned mayor. So, and
Good luck, guys.
Mr.
And James.
LaRue
Good
as
luck to
well.
James, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, to James as well.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Oh boy, was that ever something else. Whew.
Well, I was
Phew.
trying to, I know your job was hard, and I was trying to, it's all the stuff going down, the comments, and it was crazy. You did a
Oh,
great job
man.
pulling the questions out, because
Mhm.
I'm like,
And it was kind of hard to go through everything because there's this flood of like, I don't know this person how they're doing it to be able to come back, even though we've banned them several times. I don't know. Anyways, it was interesting for sure.
it was very interesting. We even had comments about ourselves. I don't
Yeah.
know. People had comments about everything. And yeah, they did. And like say, I did apologize about my glasses, but if I take them off, I can't read any of the questions. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
Anyways, that's it for us for tonight. Tomorrow night, we have some counselors that are going to be, or some people that are running for counselors that are going to be with us again for a special 7 o'clock broadcast. Come on and you can ask your questions. It's going to be Fred Gunjo. Who is it again? I can't even remember.
Oh my goodness,
Corey
you're
Dixon,
right.
I believe, and
I had it
Abid
written down.
Hussain. So,
Yes, you
so
are
yeah.
right.
So we'll see you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.